Over the last several weeks, we've met women whose lives were forever changed by violence. We've walked the roads they've traveled, examined the evidence investigators have shared, and explored the theories that continue to surround these cases. Today isn't about reaching a sensational conclusion. It's about asking what the evidence actually supports, what we know. We are separating facts from speculation. For example, Jane survived. Victims were clustered geographically, multiple stabbing homicides, the timeline that seems to be established, highway proximity, as well as victim similarities. What we think. Ultimately, we know that Linda Moore has been considered a Connecticut River Valley killing victim, as well as Barbara Agnew, Ellen Freed, Bernice Cordemanche, Eva Morse, Betsy Critchley, and Kathy Milliken. So how strong is each connection? Ultimately, we can do maybe 3 categories here. We can do strongly supported, possible, or uncertain. For instance, Linda Moore, she is the lady who was actually murdered in her own home. She was working from home for her husband and his construction business. That seems almost like an outlier, even though there was a gentleman who was found close to her house. Again, I would say that is uncertain likely. Barbara Agnew is probably the most strongly supported one, given the fact that she meets a lot of the criteria. She was on her own, by herself. She was isolated. They actually found the crime scene and they found her belongings on the rest area where she had stopped. Ellen Freed, again, is another one who is probably possible, given the fact that she was also very likely to have been a Connecticut River Valley killer. Additionally, she was also buried close to some of the other women. Bernice, that is also possible, given the fact that she essentially was found to be hitchhiking. Hitchhiking could be a potential end for someone who's looking to victimize someone else. She was also close to some of the people that were buried similar directions, even though a lot of people are saying that it's potentially the Kellyville killer, and that's also potential for Ellen Freed as well. And then Betsy Critchley. Betsy Critchley was also found near Eva Morse, and they were buried 500 feet apart, if you recall from our series. If you haven't watched our series, this won't mean a lot to you, but definitely go back because they're all still there if you're interested in the Connecticut River Valley killer. And then we have Kathy. Kathy was deemed to be the first victim, her name was Catherine Milliken. She was a very well-established person. She was an ornithologist, which is a doctor of birds. She went to go bird watching. She was a champion rower. She was very athletic. She also was very artistic. And so ultimately, I think that Kathy likely is strongly supported because she almost seems like the blueprint as far as a person being isolated. Again, she also was near his dumping ground. And so this isn't to declare an official answer because clearly I don't have the information that the investigators have, but this is what I would say based on studying this. This is to help you understand the relative strength of the evidence. And ultimately, next we're going to talk about the suspects. Was this a local offender? I think that there is some evidence that supports that, given the idea that this person was going to isolated areas in the nature of New Hampshire and Vermont. The other thing too that you kind of think about is the idea that there may be multiple offenders, given that there can sometimes be variances in what has occurred. The other thing that kind of makes me think that there may potentially be a group working together is the consistency with some of the stuff that happens. And so, for instance, I mean, they're going to isolated places. They are finding women who are alone. They are having frenzied attacks, like stabbing attacks, which goes across all areas. And then, if you've heard about the Gary Westover confession, they did say that it wasn't very helpful per se, and it was never really, my understanding, is transcribed or actually corroborated. And he died. So then there's the incident, or the idea that he is actually made this confession, maybe wanted to get stuff off his chest, but there wasn't enough time to be able to learn what he had said. And apparently there is some misinformation in the idea of whether or not he actually named people who were working with him and Barbara Agnew when he harmed Barbara Agnew. Additionally, I mean, what other theories are there? I mean, there are theories that, could be a drifter, which I don't really see a drifter hanging out that long. I know that Ted Bundy kind of matched that description as he was flitting from place to place. I never knew where he would turn up next. And there are a lot of serial killers that do try to stay off the grid, so to speak. Ultimately, I think that it would have to be somebody who was local, because they kind of knew the landscape. They went to places that, me not being from New Hampshire or Vermont, I would not know where would be a good place to do something like that, nor would I ever want to do anything like that. But I also think that it is likely somebody who is local. And I feel like it's also likely that there are potentially multiple offenders. And the reason I say that is because, Betsy Critchley's family talked about her being a fighter. Barbara Agnew fought back. A lot of these women fought very, very hard for their lives. Unfortunately, they came up short, which is really sad and awful to think that that person is still out there. Jane Borowski survived. Her unborn daughter survived, thank goodness. But ultimately, I think that this case has more questions than it has answers. And my hope is that one day, very, very soon, technology may catch up. We may be able to find out very soon, like, how this all is working. Because, as you know, Catherine Milliken, actually, they went back and looked at her crime scene 47 years later, thinking that they may be able to find something. So, I mean, there's got to be something there. They're just not telling us, and they're not telling us what they're looking for. There was also evidence maybe that Betsy Critchley had some sort of DNA on her. Again, that has not been confirmed or denied. So ultimately, I'm not speaking with certainty here, but from what I've read and looked into, and I've done a lot of research on this case. And so feel free to comment below what evidence actually supports each theory. Because ultimately, I just think that if you have somebody, women especially, who are strong-willed, who were very successful, a lot of these women, you're going to have people who are going to be fighting you, and you're likely going to need a partner in crime, unfortunately. And you think about it, just biologically, there are women that are strong, don't get me wrong, but I think if you had two men, I think that they would easily be outmatched. And that is the unfortunate part of this whole scenario. And so questions that remain: why the gap? And we've talked about this before. We've talked about, did he go to prison for a period of time? Did he have a mental break? Did he pass away? Did he get sick? Did he move away because the heat was getting on him? Why these locations? I mean, I think that's pretty self-explanatory given the fact that a lot of them are extremely remote. A lot of New Hampshire and that area are very rural, so to speak. So there's not a lot of people. Why these victims? I think these victims were essentially, and not blaming them, this is not what I'm saying, in the wrong place at the wrong time. And this person was an outdoorsman, likely, would be my guess. A person who was comfortable blending in, a person who was comfortable being in a wooded area. Maybe it was a place where he had been happiest, you know. I don't know. I mean, I kind of think about why he keeps going back to the same location. And again, why did it stop? We're thankful that it stopped. But could he have been worried or in prison or sick or felt like things were, the jig was almost up? I mean, kind of what's going on there. Again, we talked about, you know, one offender or multiple offenders, you know, and so that's kind of the thing that remains here. So my thoughts are, there are a lot of things that we do not know. And to be 100% logical and not theoretical, there are some things I think we won't ever know. And that is because, I mean, there's 47 years that have passed. If you think about this person, I believe Jane Borowski said that he was in his approximately 30s or 40s. If he's in his 30s or 40s, I mean, he's 87 years old walking around. I mean, that may have been, oh, I have health issues, like I can't continue hunting like I used to. You know what I mean? And by hunting, I mean hunting women. But I still have questions. I still have questions. Why these women? What started this? What kept you continuing to harm these people that you don't even know? I mean, I guess that, you know, a lot of serial killers do harm people that they don't know because it's not as easy to track them. And I still have a lot of questions. I still can't, like, I initially think, you know, maybe serial killers work alone, but then I also know that there have been groups of serial killers together who have something. You know, are we talking about Rex Heuermann, or are we talking about someone who actually works with a partner? Again, I go both ways, to be honest. And so I wish I knew more. I wish we could figure out more. But, you know, 47 years, he's had a head start for 47 years, unfortunately. And so in the final closing, I want to say this is where Grace and Gavel is. This is where we stand. This series was never about glorifying a killer. It was about remembering people. Let's say them out loud. Barbara Agnew, Bernice Cordemanche, Catherine Milliken, Ellen Freed, Eva Morse, Betsy Critchley, Jane Borowski, and every family still waiting for answers. If one day these cases are solved, I hope this series serves as a reminder that behind every case file was a person whose life mattered. Thank you for tuning in to Grace and Gavel, where truth meets compassion. My name is Buffy. I'm an almost 18-year criminal defense attorney, and I truly, truly believe the victim-centered approach, because glorifying a killer is not something that I want to do. I want to recognize the people who paid the ultimate price, and I want to recognize the people who've lost those loved ones in their lives and also paid a price. So if you got value from this, please consider liking and subscribing. And I also want to show you one other thing here. Let me turn around my camera here. So if you are seeing this, it says America's Interstate Highway System. This is a clue to what our next series will be. We will be talking about unsolved cases and potentially solved cases involving the American interstate highway system. Stay tuned, guys. It's going to be interesting. Thank you for tuning in to Grace and Gavel, where truth meets compassion. My name's Buffy. I'm an almost 18-year criminal defense attorney, and hopefully you'll come back and see us again soon for this new series. And if you hadn't started watching the Connecticut River Valley Killing series, it'll still be up on YouTube, Grace_and_Gavel, where truth meets compassion. Definitely look for it on YouTube. Thank you so much and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.